I think we're live. Hey, what up, my comic book freaks? It's your boy J-Rocks. Today I'm with guest Wonky Ninja from YouTube. I'll put his link down below so you can check out his channel. And writer of Killbox, Tom Riordan. There we go.
Yeah, we're live. Bro.
There you go. Yeah, up and running. There we go.
It's a slow process, man.
There we go.
At least we're finally working out so we don't have an echo whenever we start out, man, from you not turning off your YouTube.
Yeah, I always forget to leave the. Yeah, I always leave the other window open.
Do I need headphones? Are you guys picking up echo from me?
No, I'm not getting any echo from you.
Okay, good to go.
Okay, I'll put your link down below too right now. I'll get it from when we're done. I'll get your channel from Twitter and I'll put it down below. And do you have a YouTube channel?
I actually do. Yeah. It's. To be honest, I can't remember what it is.
It's the same as the name show.
Message it to me.
Yeah, I think it's Tom_S_RIORDAN.
Okay, just message me the link and I'll put it on the description down below so people can check it out.
You got it.
All right, guys. Today we're gonna do a graphic novel review on Lazarus, written by Gregg Rucka, and I think it's artwork by Lark. So, what do you guys think about the book?
I'll let Wonky start on that because he said it's one of his favorite all-time books. So
I freaking like I was saying off air, man. Somebody asked me the other night, you know, if I could like pick one book out of all the books I read, what would I read? And Lazarus should be at the top of that list. I mean, I really enjoy Lazarus. I don't believe this first trade really does Lazarus justice because it mainly is just dealing with like the Carlisle family and what's going on there. You don't actually, you get a little bit introduced to the Central American people, the Morari. Is that what their name is?
Moraes, I think it was Moraes.
Yeah, the Mori. I mean, you get introduced to them a little bit, but I don't believe that this first trade really does justice to like just the overall story that's going on. You know, basically, it is a story about like the 1% that have in the near future taken over the world, and you know, like Big Pharma has got, you know, their little area, and the genetics labs have got their own area, and you know, everybody has got their own area, and they just divvied it up, and they war, and you have Lazarus that are like the generals, I guess, is what a Lazarus is.
Yeah, they seem more like the enforcers to me. Like Lazarus are like the protectors of each family.
You're only really dealing with Forever in this first trade.
Mm-hmm.
So you're dealing with the Carlisle family, and you're dealing with her. I mean, their genetic engineering. So,
yeah, with her relationship with her family, like with the Carlisle.
Forever, you know, like heal herself. You know, I mean, she's kind of like Deadpool or something. You know, she can kind of heal herself. Whereas the Lazarus and the other groups aren't really the same way. But
so each Lazarus, yeah, 'cause I only read the first volume, and so you're saying that each Lazarus is not built equal?
No. Each Lazarus is a product of whatever the group is that runs that area.
Okay, I thought all Lazarus were the same.
No. The reason that Forever can regenerate is because she's from the genetic engineering, and so that's her power. All right. The other Lazarus aren't like that.
Yeah, I didn't get that from the first trade either. That skimmed right over me. I thought all Lazarus,
no.
based on the name, would come back from the dead, so to speak.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
it didn't like hint at them being different or anything.
Because of the fact that it follows the Carlisle family, and follows forever. The entire series is set up around forever, and so hence Lazarus. I mean, she is Lazarus. But as far as the actual heads of the other groups, you know, like the Lazarus for the Huck, which are like the big farm people, basically is kind of like a tweaker that he is just really amped up on all kinds of pharmaceuticals to make him, like, you know, uber strong. And the other clans, I mean, they all have a specific talent that is, you know, their thing.
Now, to me, this came off as like a mafia story type of thing. Like you have families going against each other. It came out like a crime type of story, but in a futuristic world with a little bit of military influence.
Yeah, I mean, I got that too. But you know, a lot of what I liked about this is that the specific families are set up almost as royalty. So if you look back in like medieval times, or even if you throw on HBO on Sundays and watch Game of Thrones, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a lot like that. It was a lot like the Lannisters and the Starks, and I mean, there's 7 kingdoms that take over the. I mean, I don't know how many kingdoms are represented in Lazarus, because, like you said, I've only been through the first trade paperback, but I really enjoyed the way that was. Their workers are serfs. The people who work for them have no rights, no, you know, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And yeah, that kind of spoke to me. I like small interpersonal stories that are set in massive universes, you know, and this is definitely that, you know.
Yeah.
That's one
Lark,
thing, Gregg Rucka, is that, I mean, Gregg Rucka, in the way that, I mean, he's, you know, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan too, but that, you know, writers that can give you this huge scope of a universe with so few words. I mean, you know, in this first trade, that's not really even described to you, like the scope of how, you know, how big the world is and everything. But I mean, it's just like the world building is just amazing to me.
Well, it gives you a really good sense of it, though. You know, like I know, I mean, you've only basically meet these 3 main families at least as far as I've gotten with trade paperback. But you get a sense that it's this way throughout that world, that essentially no one has rights. Like, looks like you got your Rob Wise guy.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob, what's up, man? Rob may not be able to talk. He said he didn't know if he could get in and talk.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, how are you, man? Tom and Jay, how are you doing?
Hey. How are you holding up?
Yeah.
Awesome. This may not work all the time, so I may just have to sit here for a little bit. And I guess you can't see.
If you,
I can see you.
I don't know if you can't see me.
If you start to lag, if you'll downsize your, or if you'll take off your actual picture and just put up your icon, it'll help out a lot. Right now you're fine.
Okay.
I'm just saying, start to lag.
Like right now, all I see is my live image on my picture. I just see my little thumbnail thing there, so that's kind of weird.
We see.
Yeah, we could see you on the screen.
You ready, Rob?
Well, that's awkward. Cool.
Okay, well, right now
I can't see what the hell I'm doing now.
They're actually back to Lazarus, I guess.
Yeah, I'll say right now we're reading Lazarus. I'll say if you have any, like if you read it or you want to give any opinions, just chime in.
Do we have a lag on him?
Or did he log
Yeah,
out?
I'm I'm trying to figure this. Oh, there it goes. Now I can. Oh, I saw me for a second, but it's just awkward. I'm trying not to be so awkward on here.
I no sweat. Wonky, you could just this first trade paperback started to feel a little bit like they were setting up a sort of Romeo and Juliet thing between Forever and her counterpart. Is that how it plays out? I mean, I'm going to go buy the other trades, but
Yeah.
In the Lazarus?
Yes,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to. I want to see them end up together. I like what was happening there between them.
Well, the Lazarus are above. They're above the family. They're above the petty disputes. They're enforcers, basically, but they're above the disputes that are happening in like the everyday politics of just the world. All right. So, goodbye, Rob. So they have interrelations that make it really hard later on for them to actually go out and have to kill each other, because they're kind of like a separate class.
Yeah, and I noticed that their families are going at each other, but the Lazarus seem to have like a really good relationship.
You know, like when you see the Lazarus from the Moriarty family, you know, when you see him interacting with Forever, in the future, all the Lazarus are that way. Like, they're all friends. When it comes down to actually, I'll have to kill you, then, well, that's what has to be done for the family. So it is kind of a Romeo and Juliet type of thing where, you know, they care and, you know, are friends with these people, and then, you know, possibly have to.
I like that. I like the fact that they're the only ones that get each other, you know, because of the way they were genetically engineered. They're separate even from their own families. So, I mean, the only people that would get them are the other Lazarus, I guess would be
Yeah. At get up to issue 11 or 12, there's a big summit between all the families, and you get to really see how the Lazarus don't personally have any issues with other Lazarus, but it comes down to actually the family saying you have to go and kill this person, even though they're your best friend. You have to go and kill them. That's what they do, because they're end of the day, they're a Lazarus, so you know that's what they do.
So
yeah.
do it yourself. I like it.
Yeah, I really like the main character. What's her name?
Forever.
Yeah, I thought she was a real strong character, and I definitely, that was the best part of the book, was the relationship between the Lazarus for me, like, because the rest of it was kind of like a mob story, and this was like something different with them. I was like, oh, like they really piqued my interest. Like I want to see where they go, because there was this explosion. Remember that part? So I was like, how is this gonna affect? Like, are they gonna still trust them or not? Because I remember he was saying, it wasn't us that did it, and it turned out they're kind of double crossing Forever. So it's getting interesting there. Like, not everybody in the family likes their Lazarus.
I feel like there should be questions, having read this entire series, like questions that I should ask of people that have only read the first trade. Like,
I don't think there was really there's not really like a good guy or a bad guy, like a good family or a bad family. Each one has their own, they have their good people and their bad people.
There's a lot of moral ambiguity in this, and I like that, because that's the way people are.
Yeah,
that's human beings are. You know, and I like that. I like the fact that there's a lot of there's a lot of backstabbing, there's a lot of drama, and conniving within the individual families that they seem to be above. The other aspect that I really enjoyed, especially about Forever's character, is the psychological toll that being a Lazarus seems to take on her. I don't know if she's sliding towards insanity, but they strongly hint at that every time she has to go get a tune-up, that it affects her psychologically. Aside from the fact, I mean, and that's the genetic, and I love little details like that where they say, well, we need to do an adjustment because of this, that, or the other. I love that sort of thing, especially in things that are sci-fi based, the way this is. And the other aspect is her human psychology, predicated on the fact that essentially her job is to kill people, period. Without rhyme or reason. She is, she may, like you said, she may like them.
Even more so than the politics of the bigger world.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think about the politics just inside the Carlisle family?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm trying not to cut anybody off.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, that was definitely the start of the show. Most of the story relied heavily on them. I really like how wherever she's like her moral code is like against with the stuff she has to do. Like she's doing things that she doesn't seem to enjoy doing. It's kind of like she's a hired gun, but she's against it.
Well, I mean,
I like that they've been around forever, and like they see that the father is fixing to die, and so there's all this jockeying inside the family for who's going to be the. I mean, just like just evil manipulation between brothers and sisters to, be at the top of that.
Yeah, jockeying for position. Like when someone dies in a rich family, like I want to have more inheritance than you.
And that's another point where it's very reminiscent of talking about medieval royalty and monarchies, where you would see that. It was not at all uncommon for people to kill their older siblings in order to, to be close to the crown, so to speak. And that happens. I'm not sure what issue. It would probably be in issue 3, where she completely sets her brother up, even though they thought they were both in on the scheme together to eliminate Forever. He turns around like, hey, it worked, everything's great, and she's like, you got 15 minutes to get out of Dodge because we're going to blame this on you.
Yeah. He's on a plane getting out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, there was definitely like 3 or 4 stories going on at once, and it never relied too heavily on one or another. You got like a good balance of everything.
So far, so good on this book. I'm really enjoying it. I really am.
It was real good. Also, the point you made about like the medieval times, how they used to say always whoever was the next in line for the throne was usually the one that had something to do with killing the king, so they could take the position. And this has, how you said it, definitely has that type of tone.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain, I hate to go back to Game of Thrones and harken back to Game of Thrones, but they remind me of the Lannisters.
Oh no, yeah, it's very very heavily influenced by that type of
which came first, the Lannisters or the Lazarus books, and that's, that's a compliment. I mean, that's an amazing writing team to have over on that, not only for the novels, but for the television show. It's an amazing writing team. And that's captured, it's got a really good throwback feel in the future, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely, because I like, how you said, there's a lot of shades of gray, so there's no clear good guy or bad guy, and that's good, so you kind of get to root for who you want instead of who's telling you to root for. What do you guys think about the art?
I think one of the stars for me in Lazarus is the art too, man. Michael Lark.
Oh, the art was amazing. I love the art on this book.
Oh, dude.
It almost felt like they were drawing like tracing pictures or they had pictures and they were drawing it off of actual like people. The way the body movements are, it's like real body movement.
Like that program that you can do that like will like make a comic book out of like an actual photo or whatever. That's kind of what what I mean. I mean, that is just freaking amazing, man. Just everything that's going on in that panel is amazing.
Yeah, the way the movements were, it felt very realistic to me. Like nothing felt like in other comics where it's over the top action, like cartoony. These movements and the way the poses and everything was like very real.
Yeah, I mean, the photorealism that you touched on is very impressive in this book. I love the coloring. I love the blues. I mean, everything's kind of in a darker. Yeah. It's like a blue noir wash, the entire thing,
Yeah.
except for certain scenes where they decide, very intentionally decide to make it a brighter scene or to elicit an emotional response. But they very cleverly used the colors in this with the almost photorealism of the art is pretty badass.
Yeah, yeah, I was impressed with it. It was a good form of because sometimes some people could drop like pretty drawings, but the way it moves from panel to panel is like it's like a good looking actor, but the acting's not good. Sometimes they do that where the art looks good, but the way it flows is not great. And here, like everything meshed well.
I mean, I love any time that I read a comic, man, that like the art is telling a story and the story is telling, the story is telling a story and they're the same thing, but just that they complement each other. I mean, that's what when I read a really really good comic, that's something that I really enjoy is that both, everybody that's involved in making this comic, there's something that they do that is just like, contributes to the overall, what's going on. I mean, be it the colorist, be it, I think that they've got somebody that just does like background images, like the computer screens, what's on computer screens or whatever.
Mhm.
Like there's so many different things that go into just, I think, making this book,
And
flow.
that's a nice big compliment to the editorial staff as well as the publishers themselves, because
Yeah.
that's what they have to pair the right artist with the right script, and that's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. I mean, aside from juggling personalities, you have to. Writer has a certain style, and an artist is going to have a certain style, and pairing those beautifully is very difficult. So hats off to the people over there on the editorial staff.
Yeah. It doesn't happen that often. I mean, I read a lot of comics, and it really doesn't happen that often that, you have just got the perfect combination of all those elements that, make this story.
Well, it happened here. So.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, because sometimes the writing is telling you one thing, and the way the panels are drawn, you're like, oh, in this panel, this should have been happening, or this should have been happening. You like in your head, it's something different, and here it all went smooth. One thing I noticed, I don't know if it was just me or if you guys noticed this, in the swimming pool scene where the brother's talking to the sister, the dialogue is just like the artwork is telling me like they're in a relationship or something, like some type of incest. The sister and the brother, the sister that set up the brother, I forget their names. But in the dialogue, they're talking normal, but in the artwork, he's always drawing them like hugging and touching each other. And I'm like, all right, something going on between them two. But then the fact that she set him up made me think, well, I don't think she was doing anything with him. But before it got to that point, it seemed like the artwork was hinting at one thing, but it wasn't implied in the writing.
I think that is a great. I mean, that's a great little, not a trick, but I mean, to to put sexual overtones between siblings while the dialogue doesn't support it makes you as a reader uncomfortable, and you're supposed to be uncomfortable with that scene. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I think.
Well, I think do the way that it plays that you think you get this feeling of this, you know, ancestral relationship that's going on between them, which isn't ever actually stated, but then when she double crosses him, and that's just playing out, you see the double cross and everything. It's like, well, we never said that they, you know, that they had this relationship, but now you more understand how she played him this whole time, you know.
Yeah, like maybe she was kind of seducing him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, I was wondering about that. I go, I wonder if the artist was purposely doing this. Like, look, I'm gonna make it look like they're flirting, and I wonder if the writer knew he's doing that with the art, or if they were like on the same page, or he's like, I'm just gonna do it anyways. Like,
Sometimes it can be a happy accident that way, but I get the feeling that they thought that out and that was intentional and well done.
Yeah.
For that matter.
yeah, it was real good because it had me thinking the whole time like they're gonna ride together and be against forever, and then it totally caught me off guard when she's like, nope, I'm against this guy. I was, how you said, I was playing I was like, oh, I thought they were in some type of relationship where they love each other and they're against everyone else.
Once again, she to rise to the top. She eliminates a rival,
Yeah.
and she really becomes the number two. It seems like at the end, because forever she's not considered a daughter by the father. You know, the father doesn't consider her to be a blood relative. She's the enforcer for the family, and that's what she is. She's a tool to be used in the pursuit of the family.
Yeah, I mean that's her. All right, man. So, what do we rate this book, man?
If I would give it like either a 9 or 9. I'm not going in the middle between 9 and 9.5. I'm not going in the middle, 9.2.
9.2.
Do you like the Price is Right? I go 9.1.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom, man? What do you think out of 10?
Myself, out of 10, I put it up there about 8.5. Let's go back.
8.2.
I mean, I haven't been. I will be picking up the next trade, and this is going to end up on my poll list. So, you know, the writer and then the artist and the whole team that put this book together, they've earned my readership. So, yeah.
I'm definitely reading volume 2 as well. It's real good so far.
Yeah, and it only gets better.
Yeah, because there's still a lot of stuff we haven't even been introduced to, and we're left off. It seems Forever's also getting manipulated by this girl.
And the Lazarus from the Bitters is one of the best freaking characters in the book. You haven't met the Lazarus from the Hawks, and you haven't even met the guy that runs the Hawk family that's in charge of the big farm. You haven't even seen how, like, he gives his people inside the Hawk province, he gives them medications every day to make them like a subsequent population. And, oh man, it just only gets better.
Yeah, because also I saw that part like in the beginning where wherever she killed those people because they were just stealing food. She's like, why do I have to kill them if they're just stealing food? And then they call them waste, like the regular part just called waste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of feel like when somebody turns you onto like a Netflix thing that has 6 seasons, you know, and you're like, I actually have never heard of this, I've never watched it, and you fall in love with it, you know, so you've got all, like, so I'm looking forward to the fact that I have, that I am behind the curve on this book.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I mean, it's only on like issue 22 right now, so, you know, I mean, you're, you know, a couple of trades.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly recommend, though, that if you're going to pick up Lazarus and you actually like Lazarus, that you pick up these hardcovers on Lazarus.
Okay.
Because they, I mean, honestly, they're really freaking awesome, but then they give all of this background information in the book that shows, you know, art breakdowns, and in the back of the individual issues of Lazarus, they have like little like family family talks, like things about.
So there's a lot of good back matter in these.
Yeah. Oh man, in these hardcovers, there's all kinds of back matter. In the
How
back
much
of the
trades are
actual
included in the hardcover? Is it 3 trades?
family, they break down the family. They show you everybody that's involved inside the family, the hierarchy, where they came from, what their backstory is. That's in the individual issues of Lazarus. And when you buy these hardcovers, it gives you the entire back history. Like this first hardcover gives you the entire back history of every family. Plus, it gives you from sketch to print, artist stuff. It gives you writer scripts. You know, just these are so good.
I was also gonna say, I think that hardcover has the first 3 trades, so it's cheaper to get that hardcover than the 3 trades.
Well, no, it's not cheaper because this is the first 10 issues. Each one of these.
Oh, I thought it was 12.
Each one of these is 10 issues, and they're $35. But I mean, they're hardcovers. You got a lot of back matter in them. You know, if you get any kind of discount at your comic shop, you know, strongly recommend these hardcovers, man. They're freaking awesome.
I bought East to West, and it was the first 15 issues as the first 3 trades. So I thought it was
Yeah.
I thought that one had the first 3 trades.
No, it's the first 2 trades basically. But it gives you all I mean, if you buy like the Image First or anything like that, it doesn't give you any kind of back matter. I mean, that's the problem with the Image trades is they're $10, but they're so stripped down, you don't get any of that back matter that you would have gotten single issues. And I honestly believe that the stuff that's in the back of this that breaks down the families and the histories of the families and all that stuff is worth at least $15. You know,
yeah, it gives you a whole better understanding of the whole world and
the universe thing. And I mean, if you're going to read it, I would strongly recommend these hardcovers.
Yeah, I see the hardcovers behind you on the shelf. So I was checking it. We got the Daredevil there, and that Sin City looks pretty badass.
I can't pull it out. Yeah, that's all of the Sin City story in one book. Big damn Sin City. And it was funny because on the advertisement it said ideal for home defense. You could literally beat up with that Sin City.
Yeah, a lot of Buffy's right there too. I actually hear, I'm not a fan of the show Buffy, but I hear the books are pretty good.
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed the books. You know, if you watch Buffy, I mean, I honestly think that the season 8 on Buffy, the season 8 comic on Buffy is a good extension of what happened. I wouldn't recommend reading anything past season 8, but season 9 sucked, and season 10, Xander Nicholas Grant from the show took over writing the book, and yeah, it just went down a drain. But season 8 is really, really good.
I see your Daredevils there. I'm a Daredevil junkie, so Daredevil's my guy. Matt Murdock. So
I love Daredevil.
I'm on my constant quest. I'm gonna sooner or later I'm gonna have one through whatever came out last Wednesday. I'm gonna have them all. So I'm getting there. I got 2 short boxes right here on the table.
As a fellow Daredevil fan, I would just say that spending the money on those early issues of Daredevil is just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Not right
that story,
now.
Well, yeah, I mean, not right. But
right now, because of the success of the Netflix show, I mean, Daredevil is just gone.
I mean, get out of the books, man. It's like any key issue. There are all these key issues, man, that people want to pick up. And then when you pick up those key issues that you pay crazy amounts of money for or whatever, and you read the story, you're like, why in the shit did I pay, $300 for 2 pages of Daredevil? Or, why did I... Hulk 181 to me is like the biggest example of that. Like, people buy this book up right and left all day long, man, for like $1,500, okay?
Yeah.
And there's really not a whole lot of Wolverine going on in that book. Most of those first appearance books, I mean, just unless you just want to have them in your collection or whatever, are not real good stories.
Yeah, because that's when they're not always sure what to do with the character yet.
Well, I mean, Kingpin's first appearance, dude. I bought Kingpin's first appearance in, Daredevil 6. And, I paid a pretty penny for that. And I read the story, and I'm like, for real? I mean, this is, one of my favorite villains of all time, and, this is this is his introduction.
That's why I buy trades now, also because they're more durable than the single issues are. You got kids running around throwing them and everything. The single issue is gonna be falling apart.
I don't know, I self-diagnosed myself with a compulsion, but it is what it is. I mean, my favorite
comic on your channel, man. That I swear to God, man, that is like my ex-wife must have made that video, dude. Because I mean, it is just like every time that I wanted to like go out and buy anything, or every time that I was going to a con, or every time I was doing this or doing that, dude, she was just always like, you need to go mow the yard, or do whatever it is that.
Yeah, my wife's great about it for the most part. She don't like the toys. She's good with my comics, but like, okay. Yeah, I got my BB-8. I got a stack of stuff over there. Toys, she's not a big fan of, but the collectibles.
That's one thing that I have to give my ex credit for, is that my ex, was so not in favor of toys and statues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I took all my stuff and stuck it in the closet. And so it was never opened, never messed with, never, any of that stuff. And now it is like, 20 years later, and, I'm going and selling this stuff on eBay. And like, making pretty decent selling this stuff on eBay because of the fact that, it was never open, because of the fact that she made me like stick it in the closet. I freaking love it.
Hey Tom, the book you're working on right now, Killbox, what issue are we on right now? 3?
Yeah, it just issue 3 just came out. Came out on Wednesday.
Yeah, because it wasn't on Comixology yet. When I bought them, I checked them out yesterday, and 3 wasn't. So it just came out yesterday, right?
Yes, it should be on Comixology. I don't know. I'm not in charge of sales, but no, it should be up there. I'll send you a digital copy when we get off the air here. I'll email you one. I know I prefer to read them and read all my size books, but I'll definitely send you a digital download when we get off the air here.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks, man. I was gonna ask you, what inspired you to start a book?
Kind of long story answer to that. I think we were talking a little bit about this right before we came on air. I've been writing pretty much my entire life. Back in high school, and short stories and poetry and things of that nature. I was sending out and getting good deal of rejection letters, nice big pile of rejection letters, which is to be expected. Yeah, so years of that. And post high school, I did the military thing. We spoke of that earlier as well. But when I moved to Los Angeles, when in Rome, screenplays. That's what I started working on. I mean, LA is the town for screenplays. It's movies. It is what it is. So I've worked for and with a few directors and did some low-budget independent films. And my wife and I actually have a small production company, Circle Ltd, plugging it. So, but as far as getting into writing comics, I wrote a screenplay for a film, Project 12, and like I said earlier, it's about Area 51. It's about a lot of the conspiracy surrounding Area 51. So our plan was to submit it to the Roswell International Sci-Fi Film Festival because we figured if it's going to pass muster there, it's going to be all right, you know, because the people that go to those specific type of cons will tear it apart if it's inaccurate. So we sent it. It did exceptionally well. It actually won that specific film festival. Now, that film festival was being put on by Famous Monsters of Filmland, the magazine that goes back, the Ackerman, and I met the publisher, Phil Kim, while I was there. My wife and I met him, and we got along really well. I just became friends with Phil, and we've been friends for years, but years later he started American Gothic Press, which is the comic book imprint of that magazine. So when he started that up, I'm a writer. I'm always going to sniff around for work. So I started sniffing around him for work, and that's about how it panned out. Initially, I think he was keeping me at arm's length because he and I are friends. Sometimes doing business with friends is not such a good idea. But I wore him down, and eventually he said, okay, I'll read your stuff. And I sent it over to him, and he didn't read it because he turned it straight over to his editor because we're friends. And if you're going to get rejected, make sure it happens through the editor, and it's not your fault. And Holly in Delandy, she's my editor, she became one of my biggest champions. And she's the writer of Lost in Space as well. So she's a writer in her own right, extremely talented. But she loved Killbox. She loved the idea. She loved the first issues that I turned in. And that's how it came to be.
So she writes Lost in Space?
She wrote at least issues 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. She may not have written 3, but I know for a fact she wrote 1.
Okay, that's interesting to know because I read the. I've been reading Lost in Space too, and you know, I saw the panel that you did at WonderCon. Was that what?
Oh, okay.
And you know, she was all about your book.
Yeah, she's great.
You know, so yeah, I mean that's really interesting that she writes Lost in Space too, because I really enjoyed that series. Got really good.
Holly's dynamite, and what a fun idea! Getting the unproduced teleplays, they got the rights to those. So when Lost in Space was canceled, they still had scripts, and what a fun idea to take Lost in Space scripts from 35 years ago and turn them into comics. I mean, you can't go wrong.
It's a really great comic, man. If nobody's checking out Lost in Space, man, go out and check out freaking Lost in Space because it's been really, really good.
Yeah.
It's what on issue 4 or 5, 5, 6?
4, I think. I think it's on 4.
Yeah, I think it's on 4. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure.
It's been really interesting. I mean, if you like that series.
Yeah.
Did you have like the characters? Did they inspire you? Like, were they based on you or people you know, or just stuff you've seen on TV, or?
Yeah, the characters. When I write, I have a tendency. I don't outline much when I write because it's somewhat pointless. When I do complete outline, I never come anywhere close to it by the time I'm done writing. But two of the characters, I knew who they were going to be. I knew Tim Quire, and I knew who Sasha Raitt was going to be. I had a very good idea who both of those characters were going to be, and the rest of the characters kind of present themselves as you're writing. You know, when you sit down and you get into a groove, so to speak. You know, when the words start coming easily is when characters will actually present themselves to you. Like Emmy, she she didn't exist when I was thinking this up, and she presented herself, and she became one of my main characters. As far as Timothy Quire goes, Timothy Quire is you. He's me. He's just a guy. You know, he was a bartender before he started doing this, and it was very intentional that he has to just be a guy. He's not a perfect guy. I mean, he's in a game where he's killing other human beings with the hope of getting money. Now, he has a noble cause, or not a cause, but he has good reason for it. His kid is sick. His child is dying of leukemia, and he's going to do whatever he can do to get the money for the healthcare. So that's his motivation. But the rest of the characters started. They just kind of come out of the periphery while I'm writing. I don't know. I don't like to speak to other writers how their processes work, because I know a few writers that outline everything in advance and they hit their beats and they put out excellent work. It's just not how I operate, and I'm pretty sure that if I did outline everything and had a great idea of everything in advance, I wouldn't get there, and if I did get there, it'd be forced and fake, and nobody'd want to read it anyway.
So you say like that Tim and Sasha were like, you know, preconceived type characters, man. Sasha's like my favorite character in the book.
Yes.
Why was it that character was something that was a character that you wanted to be in the book?
Okay. One of I work for another company. I'm part owner, but I work for a company called Siglock Military Tactical out here in Los Angeles, right? And we do film and television advising, weapons work, gear, personnel for action sequences for film and television. And for military shows, we have advisors. For SWAT shows, we have people who are SWAT. And being on television sets is a lot of downtime. You do a lot of sitting around, chain smoking cigarettes, and make fun of each other. Plus, all my guys are ex-military, so we kind of stand around and we make fun of each other. But a lot of YouTube goes on set. People are bringing up the YouTube videos. And at one point, we stumbled across videos from Team Glock, the Glock handgun. Now, their competitive shooting squad has a number of female competitors that are like in their late teens or maybe early 20s, like little Tiger Beat type girls, like, and you see them and they're like these little cute girls. They're out on a range, and then when they draw their pistols, they're lethal. So I mean, you just hear the metal targets going, tank, 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 and then she clears a weapon and she's like, yeah, yeah. And it was just such an odd visual that it kind of stuck with me. And of course, the jokes coming from my guys when they watched that was, well, if she ever went down range, she'd last about 15 seconds because she has no tactics. So that fed into it as well. That Sasha may be extraordinarily gifted with a firearm. She has never had a human being in her sights, and she doesn't have tactical proficiency. So hence that first scene where she introduces herself via her interview, and then it cuts to her hiding behind the dumpster where the other guy's got an AK-47. I pre-thought that like almost instantly, because it was like, well, it's going to be great. It's going to be like a first-person shooter video game. It's going to be awesome. Cut to she's behind, dodging bullets, crying, going, holy God, what did I get myself into? So that scene was written in my head years before I ever put it on paper.
Yeah, it's like a target practice. If you're shooting a non-moving target, you're probably all good. Then they're like, we're not be throwing water balloons at you, and you gotta try not to get hit while you're trying to shoot the target. All of a sudden, you're not gonna be as good.
Just to be clear, though, the girls on Team Glock would kill me in a heartbeat. I'm not bad-mouthing the girls on Team Glock.
I just love the evolution of Sasha as a character. The way that, she did start out as like this, like, kind of, boisterous, I am this, this person. And then you see her behind the dumpster. And then when you see her in issue 3, she has evolved to be uncomfortably comfortable with what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't believe. I don't know. I tried to make her go from. I mean, millennials. I mean, she's a self-involved millennial. You know, she's like, this is going to be fun, and that's why I'm doing it. You know, and of course the money. But I like the fact that she goes from that, and then stark reality hits her, and her character changes. She's goes from absolute fear, and she vomits after her first kill, and she doesn't know how to handle it psychologically, into acceptance is where she is right now. She accepts what she is in, and she may not be happy about the fact that she got herself into it, but she accepts that she's there and she has no choice. There's no leaving the kill box. You're not authorized to step out the door. So I had a lot of fun with her character. She's great. And yeah, there's a bunch more to come from her. So
Yeah, I mean, I think too, man, that Nathan's art on that is, I mean, she is just the way that he does sexy in a character. That's one of my favorite things about Sasha, is that it's like he's not. It doesn't seem like he's really trying to make that character sexy. Yet at the same time, she has this, like, I don't know. There's something that's going on there that.
I have a concept sketch that he sent me. I'll email you. At first I was like, done, perfect. Don't change a thing. Like the very first concept sketch she sent over on Sasha. Nathan is amazing. I got so lucky that my script was the one that he landed on. We were talking about this with Lazarus earlier, that it's a specific skill set. It's almost an art to match the right artist with the right script. And Holly and Phil, they really did with Nathan. I couldn't be. I mean, I'd be sitting around on my Sundays waiting for I got my pages on Sundays from Nathan. And I'd just be sitting there waiting on Nathan to come out, hitting refresh almost on my browser, waiting for the pages. He's amazing. He completely captured the grittiness, the hopefulness, almost. I guess that's probably a terrible descriptive term. But that's kind of.
I was gonna say, when you guys are working, do you have an idea, like when you're writing the dialogue and everything, do you have an idea of what you want to be happening on the panels, or you talk about it as you're writing, like, look, in this panel we should do this or that, or you already have it kind of planned out?
This was one of the bigger challenges that I had moving into this, because I moved from screenplay format into writing for comics, and comic books don't have a set format. I understand DC and Marvel have set formats that their writers work under, but aside from that, it's not really a set format. So you have your dialogue, what your character's going to be doing. There's a lot of description. But one of the very freeing things about this is you can speak directly to your artist while you're writing. I've been writing like, okay, in this panel I want this to happen. And Nathan, by the way, you think you can pull this off? Let me know, sort of thing. You can speak directly to your artist before the dialogue. So you set up your action, and Nathan worked with me. It was I had a tendency to write more actions in a single panel than it's a single panel, Tom. There can't be two things going on. It's got to be one thing. And
that's something that I found interesting in that PDF that I read that you sent me, was that there were notes about can we limit the amount of what's going. I mean, there's too much going on in this panel.
Yes.
And can we limit that down? I thought that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a common mistake among first-time writers. I'm a first-time writer to comics. And it's a common mistake, especially I think very visually. So I have a tendency to write action, and these are stills, the panels. And Nathan's an amazing artist. He was able to bring action into the stills, but that was an issue that I had. I think I overcame it by, say, issue 4, 5, 6. I don't think they're going to have much in the way of that specific problem. But I'm a writer and I love my words, so my characters have a tendency to speak in monologue. You know, you can't just have a single panel that's a bubble with words in it. You know, especially when you're covering up somebody's artwork like Nathan, who's so freaking talented.
Yeah, yeah. You don't interrupt that flow.
Yeah. So so I just needed to limit my talkiness, so to speak. And Nathan was great because early on in the process, we exchanged emails and phone numbers, and after the first issue, he would just text me random things like, hey, I'm working on this right now. What do you think of this? And I'd say, I love it, I hate it. You know, we get on the phone, we chat for a minute, and work the things out in advance so that it, like, in real time while he was working on it. He'd take the time to give me a call, ask me a couple of questions, and we'd just go back and forth on it, and it really sped up the process towards, you know, issues 3, 4, and moving forward. So,
I mean, I guess I don't understand how comics are produced. So, do you send him like a screenplay, like a layout of what he needs to draw?
Yeah. I mean, not that specifically. I mean, I'll write out a script. It's a comic script, but I write out a script. And I describe it, and it basically reads, and I don't send it to him. I send it to my editor. Actually, I send it to my wife, because my wife will go, that's a terrible idea, and who taught you how to spell? No. Well, she's my first editor. And she's, you know, this book would not have happened without her. She's my first editor. I can bounce the good and the bad ideas off her, and then when I would send things to her, I would write down essentially page 1, this many panels, and then it goes down to panel 1, and then you give you a description. You know, I can actually.
So you as a writer set up a panel layout?
I don't set up the layout. I let Nathan know what I'm looking for in the panel, and you know, obviously I'm sorry, I'm getting. I was actually going to pull up one of the things, so I can just give you a word by word example of it. Okay. Purple Killbox issue 2. So issue 2, Care and Feeding is the title. Whoa. There it goes. So it's page 2, panel 1. Several of the guests speak up immediately. They seem agitated, if not downright hostile. And then from there, I have 1. You number everything because there's certain things on a page. 1, Key, the Yakuza. You know, that is, we had much say on the topic. 2, Garcia. He's from from LME, and then go through the dialogue. And then I go to panel 2, and I'm descriptive terms on what I want to see in panel 2. Now, early on, where I was running into problems was I was saying, yeah, I want people running down the street and doing this and doing that in one panel. So,
You wanted 3 panels in one panel.
Yes, of course. So I mean, it worked that way. So I will work on a script. My wife will help me with it immensely, but then it goes to the editor. My editor will get it, and she will go through, and with her professional eye, she will go through it. And this is redundant. You said this over here, and she'll send back notes, copious notes, and I have to go through and change it. Or, you know, certain times I disagreed with her once or twice, and I said, listen, I really think this works, and this is why, that sort of thing. But, you know, you have to go through, you change everything, you send it back to the editor then touches base with the artist, and then the panels start coming in. And then there's notes on the panels from the editor back to the artist as well. Very much the same way, where it was like, well, in this panel you're supposed to see this, and we don't see it. Can you add that? That sort of thing. I can't speak with any authority as to what that side of things are, because I'm not the artist and I wasn't. But that's, and it's a long, tedious process. But it's worth it. It's a blast, you know. I got no complaints about it whatsoever, and I was lucky enough to just end up with a great team, you know.
So when did you guys start working on Killbox?
Killbox.
When did you get the green light on Killbox? That because I see a lot of times, man, that like especially with like small press books and things that like coming out of the gate. I mean, you're on time with everything, and then you know, once you get to like an issue 6 or 7, you know, there starts to be a real lag in. I mean, how far in advance do you guys, you know, start working on, you know, something?
Kind of a difficult question because it was a first series, so there was a lot of going back and forth between the editor and my publisher as to whether or not they were going to do the book. So it took me about a year to get from idea to the first book coming out. And I think that's probably typical of most first titles because, I mean, it's not free. It's not free to put it out. It costs a lot of money to a publisher to put out a book, to put out a series. So, and you know, my hat's off to Phil and the guys over at American Gothic Press because I'm an unknown writer, and they put a lot of capital behind me and behind Killbox. So, you know, I don't think I mean I would think you would probably need about 2 months to 3 month lead time once you get going, once you have your artist and your writer and your editors are in place, and once the flow starts going. That would be my guess, but my experience thus far is based on a first series from a new writer, so you know, until I saw the first book, I wasn't positive I was ever getting published.
I mean, sales are pretty good though, right? I mean, you guys are doing all right over there. I mean, I mean, like I was saying off air, man. I went to Midtown, man, and Killbox 3 sold out. You know, in the regular run, the variant run. I'm having a hell of a time trying to get it through my comic shop, man. Pre-ordering 6 months ahead of time. You know, I'm having a hell of a time trying to get it from my comic shop, man.
Well, I mean, we've sold out. I'm not sure about this issue. Just came out a couple of days ago. I don't know the numbers, but I know we've sold out at the distributor level across the board pretty rapidly. I mean, I was amazed by it, to be honest. I mean, I'd love to say that, oh, well, you know, no. I was geeking out the first day. This actually, I mean, Killbox actually went to a shop in London, right? And I got a Twitter thing, like, hey, I'm checking out, these are my books that came in today. Somebody was just on Twitter talking to the books that came into a shop. They turned out to be in London. And I reached out to him, and I was tweeting to him back and forth, that sort of thing. And he said, I read it, and I loved it, I'm going to recommend it. And I woke up the next day for the release, day 1 of my first book ever, to a message from him saying he had already sold out. Now, he was, you know, 9.5 hours in front of me, so, but still, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was jumping up and down. I'm like, I just woke up, it hasn't even come out yet, and it's sold out. At least in one shop in London it did. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride. It's been well received, and everybody's been just great about it, you know. And
do you have like an idea of how how long you want this story to go? Like how many issues, or you just go like you just think 2 story arcs ahead, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I can't really game plan it too far in advance because I never really get there. Personally, I mean, I'd like to write this for years and years and years and years, but you know, it's really based on things that are kind of beyond my control. I mean, they're based on sales demographics and, things of that nature. What type of book is hot right now, what type of book is not, what's selling, what's being optioned for film and television. I'm having a great time writing it. I enjoy the story. I have a little bit of a darker sensibility about me when I sit in front of a computer, at least. I'd write it indefinitely. I've been greenlit through 8. I've already turned in through 8, and I've written 9. And, I will get the green light on 9, 10, 11, 12, or I won't, so.
Cool. I think that's something that's really interesting. I mean, you said, like, in issue 1, in your, letters page in the back or whatever, you were talking about how that, this isn't a story that hasn't been told a million times or whatever. But I think that one thing that is different about Killbox is that most of the time when you tell stories like this, where you have people that are put in a pit to kill each other, they're not there voluntarily.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's different about this story is that, like I think you referenced Long Walk.
Yeah.
And which is one of my favorite Stephen King short stories.
Yeah.
Hashtag make that a movie.
I'm sure it's been optioned. I'm sure somebody at some studio has it. Everything Stephen King.
Somebody owns Long Walk somewhere, and I'm never going to get to see that. But I mean, it's that same general thing that's going on in Killbox is that these people aren't like convicts that, like a lot of people compare Killbox to Condemned, the Stone Cold movie. And, I think that's apt. I mean, it's, it's kind of the same difference. But those people aren't like voluntarily, in that death match.
Yeah.
These people, have been vetted. And they are in there because they want to win a prize. Like any reality TV show. And I think that's what makes this book. What it is about this book that I really, really enjoy is that these people voluntarily decided my life is worth X amount of money. Yeah. And, I'm willing to, go in and, kill people, which might be against, every moral I have, or, kill people, and maybe it's not what I thought it was, in an abstract form. I mean, that's what I really, really enjoy about this, is that these people voluntarily are in the Killbox.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that, and it's drawn a lot of comparisons to the Hunger Games, to the Long Walk, the Running Man, and obviously it's similar to those things. It obviously is. And I was obviously influenced by those titles, but. Yes, they're there voluntarily. Some of them are less voluntary than others. They feel they have no other options, and they've come to the end of their rope. And the other thing I wanted to make specific about Killbox to make it different is that it's underground. It's not on TV. It's not a national spectacle. It's not, people don't know about it. The people who live, the overlay is in Los Angeles. People who are living in downtown Los Angeles have no idea this game is going on. And then suddenly 2 people are fighting to the death right in front of them, and they were just trying to go to Starbucks,
That's what they like about Killbox, is that you could drop the Killbox. I mean,
competition. Wait a minute. So it's like happening now. There's like a competition happening while people are just living their normal day lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and the Killbox does move after the first arc. When you get down to one contestant and somebody's won, Killbox goes someplace else, and it can be anywhere. It can be Killbox Tokyo, Killbox Chicago, any 4 mile square on this planet. You can just do this overlay, and that's where the contestants are going to show up, and that's where it's going to happen.
Oh, that's great. That's completely different because usually all the stories are in like
Arena.
area.
Yeah.
It's like out in the real world. Like it's not in a certain dome or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, The Running Man, the novel The Running Man, took place anywhere in the United States. It was nothing like the Schwarzenegger movie, but so I was influenced by that. But I mean, and then I took a pretty hard right and opened the Killbox storyverse up a lot in this last issue. So I don't do the spoiler. I know you haven't read it, but I know Wonky has. So what'd you think of that, Wonky? I've been kind of nervous about that, creating this much larger world.
Issue 3?
Issue 3, yes.
Well, I got to be honest. I didn't read issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how exactly that we got to where we were at the beginning of issue 3.
Okay.
But that said, that doesn't matter at all to what happened at the with the priest and everything.
Yes.
In issue 3. I'm really curious to see where the story's going to go, what the story's going to do going forward.
Okay.
Because I have to say, man, that was like a freaking rock cross that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And I thought that, yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I really liked the largeness, I guess, of you know, what was happening there. I wish I would have read issue 2.
Oh, I think I sent it to you. So
because it is a huge jump not reading issue 2 and going from issue 1 to issue 3.
Yeah.
That is a huge freaking jump.
Yeah.
But man, I really enjoyed it. I liked where it was going, and I really hope that in the future that this priest is involved, because I really liked his character. I liked his snarkiness.
Yeah.
You know, that he had going on in there, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, this was kind of
I really like where that was going, because I mean, I think that because I mean, I'm looking at Killbox based on the first issue, that this Killbox can drop anywhere, okay,
yes.
and be gambling. So I'm looking at, like, from like a Survivor standpoint, I'm looking at Killbox All-Stars, all right, for like $100 million, okay?
Yeah.
I'm looking, you know, 4 Killboxes down the line. You know, you've gone, you know, and the fact that you threw something in there in issue 3 that really just made me like, wow, I need to totally reassess, you know, what my future is with, man, it was, yeah, man, it was good stuff.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous about making, I mean, it was always planned to happen, but, you know, we made kind of a calculated, we back and forth on it and decided that we were going to do issue 1 clean, you know, start to flesh out the characters, let people get to the idea of that world, that 4 mile, and we started hinting at some of these things in issue 2, like subtle hints, but issue 3 just decided, okay, let's just blow it wide open and see what happens. So, but the kill box will always be a constant. There will always be a kill box going on, no matter where the story goes. So,
but was there a dispute over when you revealed what happened in issue 3, opposed to maybe that could have come in a later issue?
There was some back and forth.
I felt that was something that, like, maybe you could have hit me with, like, issue 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Opposed to just right out of the gate.
Well, I wanted to introduce that deliberately. Wanted to introduce that larger galaxy, so to speak. I mean, I wanted to introduce that because I didn't want to. I didn't want readers coming along to issue 7 or 8 and then having the story pivot that hard. You know, so we made a decision to do it pretty early on. Now the main story doesn't change. This main story is still revolving all around these players. They just got a lot more on their plate all of a sudden, So, we just to the readers, we didn't want to. I didn't want to drag people into thinking they were enjoying a certain story and then changing it, and with hinting at an issue 2 and then doing a rather large introduce in issue 3. People will. I mean, I don't want people to go, I don't like it, and not read the book anymore. But that may happen. So it was a big change, and it's a big risk, and I hope it pays off. And I'm sure my publisher hopes it pays off too. So.
I mean, it opens you up to a much larger world than what is the initial concept that I got in issue 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a much larger world.
And that's the great thing about writing. I'm sorry. It's the great thing about writing for comics. Like I wrote for a lot of small independent films, and you have to worry about budget. They look for a lot of scenes with 2 guys in a room by themselves talking. That's a perfect independent film scene. But whether I write Godzilla Attacks Tokyo or 2 people sitting in a room, it costs the same in comics. Your artist is going to produce your picture. So that was.
Unless you're Ethan that has to draw Godzilla attacking Tokyo, or 2 guys standing in a room.
And my publisher is much more up on the game than I am. Like I'm new to this. It is what it is. And he was like, look at the biggies. Look at DC. Look at Marvel. They have multiverses. I mean, if you've read the Secret Wars event that just happened, it was 65 billion multiverses collide. I mean, they're like not just one universe. Not in Marvel. He was like, it's okay to go bigger. You can get away with it. People are looking for a little more fantastical thing in the comic book realm, and they're much more accepting of it in the comic book realm, is where they may not be.
I mean, this is one thing that I wanted to have. This is one thing that I wanted to have Rob on, man, so that we could have like a back and forth about. Is that me and Rob read a lot of smaller press run books, and that's why I enjoy small press run books. Is your ability to like tell a story that, like, if you were somewhere else, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell this story. I mean, Killbox is not a DC story or something like that. I mean, maybe not even an Image story, but on these smaller press books, man, I mean, you can just kind of tell a story. I just wish more people read those books.
Yeah, you get to get more creative. You don't have all these rules where like you're not allowed to do this or that or.
There are certain rules even at American Gothic Press. So there were certain things that I did that Phil was like, take that out immediately and put anything like that back in again. I was like, okay, got it. That's a rule. Okay, let me write that down. That's a rule. Don't do the dead baby.
When you barely get when you just start, like, do you hand them like a script of what you want the first issue to be, and they tell you what you're allowed to do from the start, or as you go? Or?
I wrote issues 1 through 4 and turned them in. Phil asked me for 1 through 4 because he was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to transition from novel, short story format and screenplays, which I had become. Those are almost mathematical in the way they're laid out, and comics aren't. So he actually had me write the first 4 and then turn them over to the editor because he wasn't positive that I'd be able to pull it off. He knew I could write. He knew I had a certain amount of talent, but he didn't know if I was going to be able to successfully transfer over to this format. So he had me turn in 1 through 4. I think for the most part, you have a pitch package that you turn in along with a synopsis and maybe half of the first issue when you're pitching to it. But that wasn't the case. I'm kind of a unique case, and I was friends with the publisher, and so things went a little differently with my first book than I think with most artists and writers.
Do you find it as a smooth transaction, or was it difficult when they tell you, look, on a prose novel type format, like you gotta cut this out, this, like let the art tell you a lot of the story where you don't need all the writing? Was it hard to find out like how much you gotta cut out, how much dialogue to leave, or did you find it simple?
A direct transition from novel to comic format would have been really difficult, but I'd been writing screenplays for years, and so it wasn't that. Mastering the format wasn't that difficult. What was difficult for me was getting in the groove of writing, and just you find that sweet spot when you're writing that you can just move along with it, and getting into that groove. It took me most of issue 1 to really get into that, feeling smooth and feeling confident enough in how I was writing to actually sit down and just let the words go onto the paper. So
yeah, I find that a lot in, like, I think some Stephen King books, then they're translated into comics. And sometimes I think it messes with the pacing because they leave too much dialogue, and you're like, a lot of what I'm reading is already being told to me with the art. So I feel like there's no need to have so much of it.
I'm biased when it comes to the Stephen King stuff, like the Dark Tower series and everything like that, because I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I know Stephen doesn't write the scripts for those, but it's additional stories while I'm waiting for his next novel to come out. So I get these different backstories on Roland and on Eddie and all those guys in the Dark Tower series. I just absolutely love it. I know he doesn't write them. I know he oversees them to a certain extent, but I'm biased in that regard. So I'm like, more words, throw them on. So I love them.
If you like reading novels, you probably like the extra dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I just read all the time.
The Dark Towers that having read the series and all, that the series that came out, what was it, from Dark Horse? I thought it was just like added material.
Yeah, it was like back matter.
Yeah, it was like that matter.
I'm sorry, my wife just poked her head in. Yeah, I mean, King's my guy. I love Stephen King. I've read everything he's written, and just to have those additional stories about, especially about the Dark Tower series, because it was so amazing. It took up so much of my life, actually. I mean, I don't know. It took 14 years for that to complete.
I hear they're making a movie.
They are, but there's a lot of scuttlebutt as to whether or not it's actually a remake of the books or if it's a sequel to the books. So I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it is. I'm a fan.
Then in the movies, they have to cut so much out that's not in the books, so it completely changes the story sometimes.
They've tried to do the Dark Tower series before. Ron Howard was the last one to take a swing at it, and he didn't get it done because it seems like it has to be a series of films plus a television series plus online. It's so much book.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody will ever pull it off. They're going right now, and Matthew McConaughey is on board. So I mean, we'll see. I hope it comes out, and if it doesn't, I mean, I've always got the novels, so I'm good there.
Hey, what about?
I think it's hard a lot of times to translate Stephen King into film. Like, I love his books and everything, but there is so much going on. I mean, if you look at Cujo, Cujo is one of my favorite Stephen King books. But then when you look at the translation, although it's a good movie, you don't get, or Dolores Claiborne, you don't get that. It doesn't.
What's going on with the characters? Yeah. I like to think of Stephen King books like, kind of like The Shining. I loved The Shining. I loved the book The Shining, and I loved Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. You know, they were not the same thing, though.
No.
You know, the Shining was about. I mean, for one thing, the hotel was really haunted in The Shining, the book. You know, and Stanley Kubrick's version was different, but I got them both. So I got, you know, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way, like The Running Man. You know, The Running Man was. I really think somebody should make The Running Man the way that it was laid out in the Bachman books, Stephen King stuff. But
yeah, right. I mean, you get all these remakes of all these movies these days.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we get remakes of movies like Running Man?
Yeah.
That there has got to be a better version.
If they just did the book, if they did the book with the way that he wrote that, I think that would just be amazing, and I think it would fit actually right now because you know, the background of that entire story had to do with the income inequality thing. There's a certain amount of extraordinarily wealthy people, and then everybody else is in the gutter. You know, and that's what and Ben Richards volunteered for that, for The Running Man. I'm not sure what his motives were besides money. I think he had motives. It's been a long time since I've read it. The survival type I'd like to see done too. But guys, I'm going to have to get off. My wife just poked her head in, and I think we've been on for a couple hours now.
Yeah,
but
man, it's good talking to you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
Hopefully I'll have you again. You know what? After we read like when we're like on issue 6, see if you want to do another chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm following both you guys on Twitter and on YouTube and all that fun stuff. So I'll stay in touch, and I'll shoot you that concept sketch of Sasha as soon as I get off here.
Okay, sounds good. Also, message me the what link was I asking you for? I was telling you to message my link so all your Twitter link, so I could put it on the description down below. So
yeah, absolutely. I'll send that out here in a second.
All right.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, see you. We'll check everybody out next time.
All right, man. Thanks, bud.
Thank you, bro.